Yes, we are shooting.
Ready? Yes, sir. This is episode number 18 of Ealy May's show. This episode is dealing with my submarine series. This episode is dealing with the Israeli submarine. Before I stand up, this is a straight up shot of the Israeli submarine. The Israeli submarine, this is a Dolphin class submarine, which was constructed by the Germans for reparations for the Holocaust. The Dolphin submarine is kind of like an attack submarine and a coastal submarine. Again, it's part of my submarine series. This particular painting has some history behind it, considering the other many submarine paintings I did. So I'm going to go through the whole hull of the submarine, and we're going to give you a brief history of the Israeli people, or the Hebrew people, or the children of Israel. Within the narrative of this painting, I'm going to talk about friends who were no longer with us, and influences of the Jewish people on my life from as a little boy. So, anyway, as you see, the submarine itself, okay, it represents a submarine is submerged. You know, like for example, every family is submerged, and every family has a history about itself. And within the shell or the hull of that particular family or that individual, there is a history which is stuck within inside ourselves. Within any culture, within any people, there is a history somewhere within, away from what we see on an everyday basis. You know, meaning that with any particular group of people, there is a history, and with any group of family, there's a history. And within any individual, there is a hidden view of things. But anyway, this being the Israeli submarine from my series of submarines. Again, the outline is a Dolphin class submarine. And if we, for one vantage point, we will start with, let's go from here. This is the Ark of the Covenant. Here, you can see it right here, which here is the Ark of the Covenant, which they made a movie called Raiders of the Lost Ark, about the Ark of the Covenant. Now, the Ethiopians say that they have the Ark of the Covenant, which means that it's a transmitter to God. You can talk to God by way of the Ark of the Covenant. And as we go further on, they call it within the Bay, the IBMCM, which is Interballistic Continental Ballistic Missiles. The Israelis have something called the Samson deterrent, which means if the state of Israel is under attack or destroyed, they will use the Samson deterrent, which they will use nuclear weapons. But in this case, I went more from an artistic perspective. Each missile has like Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, David, Solomon, okay? As we know, David slayed Goliath, okay, we know that. Abraham was the father of Israel from the land of Canaan. Isaac was the son of Sarah and Abraham. Isaac means to laugh because Sarah was a very old woman that gave birth to Isaac. Jacob was one of the sons of Abraham, and of course Solomon. But this is called the Samson deterrent with Samson, and Delilah, where he pushed the pillars which destroyed Palestine. Now, within the hull of the ship, we're just going to go randomly so you can use your imagination. This is Ben Bungarian. He was the father of Israel. This is Moshe Dayan. Okay, Moshe Dayan. A 6-day war, what have you. This is Golda Meir. Okay. She was the mother of Israel. Again, we have the Marx Brothers, which would deal with Yiddish humor. Okay. This is the Yellow Star of David, which we go with the Nazis when they categorize people. Actually, within the gay movement, most of the people in the gay movement, or whatever, I don't mean it that way, but the pink came from the Nazi concentration camps. If you were homosexual, you had a pink patch. But if you was Jewish, you had a yellow patch. This is my friend Leon. Leon died about 5 years ago, good friend of mine. He was Jewish, Polish from America. He died in Paris. This is Bobby Fischer. When I was a little boy, it was Bobby Fischer that got me addicted to chess. And in 1972, when he won the World Chess Championship in Reykjavik, Iceland, Bobby Fischer was my hero. He beat Boris Spassky. But to show you how things go, Boris Spassky lived right across the street in Luxembourg Garden. And one day I was walking through Luxembourg Garden here in Paris, and I saw Boris Spassky, so I had a chance to talk to Boris Spassky. But back in the Cold War, I detest Boris Spassky because it became us against them, Cold War, Americans against the Russians. But Bobby Fischer would later go crazy. This is the map of Israel and how Israel had changed through the 6-day war, this war, that war. Then as we go here, we have Charlie Chaplin, the king of silent film, Charlie Chaplin. And then we have the timeline here of the state of Israel, the West Bank, and the protection of Israel in and of itself. Then you have the hull of the ship and a lot of interesting things here. Like I said in one video, I don't have a horse in a race nor a dog in a hunt, but you have lurking is the Palestinian situation. Well, the Palestinians, if we go back to David and Goliath, this is an ancient situation, very, very old situation. And let's say if you Billy Bob living there somewhere in Arkansas, sometimes you don't know how deep these histories go. Okay, they go so deep. But this is my, now this painting here was kicked out of several shows. Like I mentioned earlier at the dinner table, this series was inspired when I was in Santa Monica, California. I saw this, this girl eating a hot dog. And then there was a Muslim girl eating a hot dog, but she had the full burqa on her, and she could not put the hot dog under the burqa. And right then and there, a painting was born called Mustard on the Burqa. So I'm in Houston, Texas. I buy a small canvas for like $3.99 at Hobby Lobby. Everybody knows Hobby Lobby out there in Texas. And I painted a picture called Mustard on the Burqa. Sometimes I paint on the opposite side of the painting. So I actually painted the picture here in Paris, but it was kicked out of an exposition. This painting was kicked out of 3 expositions because they said it offends somebody, it hurts somebody's feelings. Well, nevertheless, a collector in New York City bought the picture, the painting, or the canvas that I bought for $3.99 in New York City. They paid $5,000 for it. The same picture was kicked out of here in Paris. This painting was kicked out of a couple of shows. But I'm proud to say that somebody appreciates it, and it's sitting here in a very lovely setting in a very historical part of Paris. And this has history And I'm so happy that it has an owner that really likes the painting. So this is called the Israeli Submarine, a brief history of the history of Israel. I'm a narrative painter, and being a narrative painter, I paint narratives. I paint a story within a story. So this is episode 18, and thank you for your undivided attention. Thank you so much.